So for those of you who've never met my wife, this is my wife Audra. She is the Simovich in Astra Simovich. She's also my law partner. She's really, well, I couldn't have built the business without her, but more importantly, she's the guru of guardianship. So when it comes to using guardianship for the kinds of cases that we work on, behavioral health issues, this is it. My wife is the Wizard of Oz. So when you see all these other lawyers claiming they know what they're doing, either they don't or they learned it from my wife. So, but let's talk about guardianship. We love guardianship, right? Why do we love guardianship so much? Talk about the kind of control, because for us, right, most of our cases, these folks we're dealing with young adults who are really out of control. So what kind of control can we get with guardianship?
Well, I think the best part about using the guardianship in the substance abuse and mental health arena is that we can give a guardian authority over the ward, which is presumably their loved one who they're trying to help. We can help them be able to manage money, which we know in a lot of these substance abuse cases or even mental health cases, a lot of times they're abusing and overusing their finances to deplete them. So that if we can give a guardian the authority to make decisions about money, we can restrict the ward being able to go out and purchase drugs, for instance, or if there's a bipolar or manic episode that a ward is confronting, they don't overspend and waste their resources. That's one of the main reasons why we would seek guardianship. Another one is also we can restrict travel. So we know that a lot of times wards, when they're not in their right mind because of mental health or substance abuse, they will try to flee the jurisdiction or try to get away from those who are trying to help them. So if we can restrict their travel, we can restrict their ability to hop on a plane, further aggravating the issue by maybe getting Baker Act in another state.
Which we've seen happen.
Correct. Another important concept that we can, or tool that we can give a guardian is the fact that we can take away somebody's right to drive. So if we know they're going to abuse substances, it's probably not a good idea if we put keys into their hand. Another big one is we can also restrict who a person socializes with. And a lot of times this is useful when we have a ward that is a female and they are potentially involved in sex trafficking, or they're just involved with the wrong human beings. So if we can restrict who they can socialize with, the guardian can take out the restraining order, because more likely than not, the ward is not going to take out that restraining order. So those are some of the main rights that we take away that we use quite often.
Let's talk about one other right that's really important, which is that the medication issue. Because a lot of the time we get individuals who are med non-compliant for whatever reason. So I know under the Baker Act, right, we've seen issues with people who are forcibly medicated, right? They got taken to a facility, they didn't take the meds, next thing you know, they're face down on the concrete, someone's sticking a very large needle in their backside. So you kind of want to make sure the state isn't the one making the decision. So can guardianship give, say, mom and dad the authority to make sure their loved one takes meds?
Right, so that's not one of the automatic rights that a guardianship a guardian can be granted. However, we can seek extraordinary relief, similar to the Baker Act, and we can go into court and request a judge authorize the guardian to allow the person to be medicated, also to involuntarily commit them. But those are extra rights that we'd have to go specifically to court to provide the evidence in order to substantiate our claim.
So one of the things that we love about guardianship obviously is the control, but sometimes we'll do it with a Marchman Act, right? If we can prove substance use, and the good thing about Marchman Act obviously is that ex parte piece, right?
Correct.
Typically, depending on the county, definitely get a court order within typically the same day, 24 hours at the outset if we're in a smaller county. If we're filing a petition for emergency temporary guardianship, which was the order that's good for 90 days, how long does it take to get in a court on one of those orders?
Well, it does depend in Florida on the different counties. Some counties are quicker than other counties. In Palm Beach County, we can usually get in with 48 to 72 hours. It just depends on the court's docket. In Broward County, likewise. In some of the smaller counties, you just have judges that are handling a divorce case one day, criminal case the other day, and it takes a little bit more time to get on your court docket. But within a week, we are usually on the court docket for an emergency temporary guardianship, which, obviously will give the family immediate ability to start controlling the situation.
Right. So here you've heard it here, folks, from my wife, the guru of guardianship. Guardianship's an important tool, and I think one of the things that we find frustrating, right, or is when we get a call from the families as well. I spoke to my estate planning lawyer, or this or that lawyer. I'm not here to poo-poo anybody else, but we find a lot of the time that they're getting poor advice because behavioral health is just a completely different, lack of a different animal, right? And it's not just can you go into court, but do you have the resources, right? It's all well and good having a guardianship. What are you going to do with it? Where are you sending them? What facility is going to be clinically appropriate so that we keep somebody in treatment long enough at a facility that is appropriate, that can actually deal with their particular situation? And every case is unique from a clinical standpoint. So guardianship done with management act is really important. And obviously understanding how the Baycrut works too, because sometimes someone's in treatment, they suddenly need a higher level of care, and now the state's involved. We want to be able to get the state out of mom and dad's life so they can start making the decision. So anyway, from the Queen Mary 2, that's my wife and guardian.
Mary too.
Yeah, check it out. Look, just in case you don't believe me. Queen Mary 2. All right, folks. Have a good day. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.